All right, everyone, welcome back to BBB Sharing. I'm Evie, Director of Ignite, sparked by BBB. Of course, I have my co-host, Barry Moore, here with me today.
Hello, Evie.
Thank
I love
you.
doing this with you. You're getting better and better each one you do. I'm telling you, you're not going to need a co-host. But then I won't have a job.
That is
so I'm
you're
your
going to
co-host,
be here
like
for the
it or
long
not.
haul. I have a very special guest with me today. I have Mr. Grayson Goodstein. Grayson?
Thank you all for having me out today.
Yeah.
Of course. So today we're going to talk about solar, right?
Correct.
Right. So Barry's going to hit the hard questions. I'm going to hit the easy ones as usual. But I'll go ahead and start with, why don't you give us some information about your background and what you do and where you come from?
All right. So I grew up in Richmond, Virginia. Born up in Arlington, was down here by second grade. Love this town. It's my city, right? Went to school down at the University of Alabama and was deciding, where do I want to live in this world? I got a lot of family, a lot of friends here, a lot of great activities, the mountains, the ocean, everything's perfect from Richmond. So I said, Richmond's it. And started out here. Actually, funny enough, I was my first professional job outside of the restaurants was just up the street from here when the refinance market was pretty hot. Did not love that job. I kind of felt like I was a pig in the stall, just making calls all day, and wanted some more. And after a few other adventures, I guess in my mid-20s, late 20s, decided solar's where I want to be. I was just thinking, where do I want to take my career? Where do I want to make an impact? What's going to make me happy? And solar was really, at that point, I don't know, there was much more than a dozen companies in the state of Virginia. It was small, so I hustled after them all. I finally got picked up by this one group, and that's what sent me off to the races. I felt passion. I'm a big nature guy. So it was kind of like, all right, cool. I get to do something that literally interacts with nature every single day. It helps people if it's done right and the right qualifications are made before any solar panels are put up on the roof. And from there, we've grown our reputation, super proud of what we've done. We got ranked as one of the top contractors by Bob Villa. And so he used to, I think, when I found out, I looked at my partner who's a little bit older than I am. I said, "Who's Bob Villa?" He goes, "You don't know who Bob Villa is, Grayson? Get it together, boy."
Your dad does. I do.
So, we were the only local contractor. We were the only one based here in Virginia that was on that list, and so just keep trucking along and taking our baby steps. That's how we think about this.
Cool.
Talk about the name of your company.
Southern Exposure Solar. So it depends who you ask.
Right.
Part of me is all right, low key, a little bit nerdy, right? And so when Fred put that out there, the first thing I thought about is, well, the panels, the more south that they face, the better off that we are. You can go to an east-west array and it can make sense, but a south-facing panel is as good as it's going to ever get. Right. And so is education literally from the very first step, and that's our whole goal. We just want to educate people, empower them with information, and then if solar is going to be a fit, then we're happy to do it. But otherwise, there's no pressure.
Yeah.
It really comes down to what you look at the electric bill, starts with that, right? And look at the consumer. And what's the formula? What do they have to fulfill to say this is a good candidate? Let's talk residential, not business right now.
We'll keep it all. We'll concentrate more on the residential.
Yeah.
That'll be good for us today. And the very first thing I'm going to do is say hello, right? We're going to start our conversation. And one of my first questions is, how old's your roof? How much time is remaining on it? Right, because if we have 5 years left on a roof,
but I'm going to say, let's role play this because I already know a little bit. So I'm going to say,
let's play.
It's none of your business.
It's none of my. Well, then I'm not sure that this is going to be the best thing for us to be talking about.
But why do you? I want to talk about solar. I don't want to talk about my roof.
I know, but if your roof is not going to have the age or the lifespan left on it to accommodate my solar panels, then I'm going to be signing you up for a bunch of trouble, and I'm going to need you to sign a waiver before we sign an agreement.
And Grayson is speaking as a true professional. And again, true disclosure, right? I told you for 7 months, I did this up in Pittsburgh before I took the BBB job. And that is the missing question so many times. The solar people just want to talk about solar. So not to get you off track, well, I might be trying to because I want to see how good you are, but you are great. I already know that because we've already done this. But it is a key question knowing because explain what happens. Let's sidetrack. You go to me, my roof is 5 years got left on it, let's say. It's 15 years old. and I got 5 years left, maybe. You put the solar panels on, you being somebody else, you're not going to do the job.
Yeah, right.
You,
Exactly.
but your competitors, your
Not all of
people
them, but some
that are
of
D
them
and
out
F
there.
rated and not accredited are going to do that job. They just want to sell solar. What happens then in 5 years when I need a roof?
They end up calling me, and then they have to pay to get it taken down, and then we put it back up, and we have to replace some components, and there's a bunch of what ifs. And then
Right.
if that's the contractor that did it in the first place, is it even up to code, right? Is it something that we feel comfortable, like we're the last people to touch it, and when we walk away, we want your house is your nest, right?
Right.
And that's where you live, that's where your family is, that's where your kids probably are, and so you want it to be done right. And next thing you know is if your roof is leaking, if there's just shoddy work, that's my house.
Right.
So we want to do it right the first time, right?
Does it void the warranty when I go up and the roofer takes the panels down and puts them back up?
I mean, if the company's out of business, the warranty didn't mean
Is
much
irrelevant.
to begin with.
That's why I love your company, man. You were straightforward. So now that I get you off track, let's get back on track.
Bring it.
No, good. So now you wanted to look at the
What I
roof.
want to look at, what I want to think about with this whole thing. So I want to know. I mean, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the satellite image if I have the address before I even call people, or like when we first talk, and I'm pulling it up on the Google satellite. I just want to get an idea that has good sun exposure, that we have good roof faces, that we don't have a bunch of trees around the house, right? If you are covered by shade, there's no point to put solar panels up. Unfortunately, when you drive around town and you start looking for solar systems, you're going to notice some. It's like, man, that's like right under a tree. Why would they do that? So I want to first look at the shade. I want to know how old the roof is, how much time is remaining on the roof. Let's say there's 15 years left on the roof. Let's have a real honest discussion. It's like, hey, in about 15 years, you're going to probably have to pay to take this down and put it back up, or you can get a new roof now, or solar just may not be the best fit for you. And so if we're educating clients from the very first, our name and the whole process through, then we're empowering them to make informed decisions and do what's going to be right for them, right? If it's right for them, it's right. They're going to say, cool, let's go. And if not, all good.
When my parents decided to get solar on their house in Greece, they had actually just built the house. And it was a year later. And my dad surprised my mom. And he was like, I found this great idea. This is going to be awesome. And mom was like, no, I want hot showers all the time, not just when there's sun. And he's like, no. It's great. It's great because we're only here in the summertime anyways. And the sun's always out. So you'll always have a hot shower here.
Yeah. Your dad was right.
He was right.
So I give you my electric bill. You look at it and you decide how many panels I need, how many watts I need. What's the language there?
So we're going a little bit above and beyond at Southern Exposure Solar. We pay for what is the best software design program out there in the marketplace. And if anybody can give me a better one, please let me know and I'll be happy to switch tomorrow.
Interesting.
But for now, this has been a program I've been working with for the past 6, maybe 7 years. And it allows us to first model out the home in the satellite. It has a technology called LiDAR built into it, and that's where they've flown some type of aerial vehicle over the area, and they essentially pop down lasers, and it shows you the size of a tree, it shows you the height of a house, the angle of the roof, the pitch. And from that, we can then design out a model, run sun simulations for each hour of the year to see how much exposure we're going to get on any position of the roof, and then we can design our panels in there. And so what we've also done is we've put the power bill information. What we're looking at is the kilowatt hour usage. And so if you're a Dominion client, for instance, you look in the middle left of your power bill, and there's like 13 months and 13 numbers, and what in the heck is this? Well, that's how they're measuring the volume of electricity. And so I'll take that, and when I design out the solar panel system, run my simulation with the exact equipment that we're going to be using, the CertainTeed solar panels and Enphase microinverters, and well, really almost every single case, because we feel really good about that equipment. It'll then deliver the annual production based on all of those factors coming together. And then when we go back and audit ourselves, like a year after we've done an installation, we're always tracking right about where we set. I mean, you got to remember it is solar. again, nature, dealing with nature. So you have a drought, you're going to make a little bit more that year because you're getting more sunshine. You have a year like 2018 when we got I thought I needed Noah's Ark to get out of it, right? We got so much rain there, and you're going to have a little bit less. But overall, the calculations, it stays in a pretty steady line overall.
The financing sources, that's where we're getting a lot of complaints. And some of the bigger companies that are no longer around, were sending out payment books. They didn't even put the panels on the roof, or they would put them up and they weren't working, or they were discontinued, and there's a warranty issue. Get the payment books there. They have to make the payment. So they're making a payment for their solar, but guess what? The power company's still building them, and they have no solar. It seems to be a big thing out there. Is financing the Wild West, or do you work with some real credible companies?
So what I would say first and foremost is that, you know what, I'm just going to speak my mind, and if they come after me, then they come
that's
after
fine.
me, but that's how I roll. So first and foremost, when somebody's shopping for solar, they definitely should be getting 3 quotes. And if they have somebody knock on their door, think about this. If somebody knocked on your door today, right, guys?
Right.
And they said, hey, I got this Honda Civic out there, $25,000, smoking hot deal, right? You want to buy it? It's a great car. Get off my porch, man. So, like, when the door knockers are coming around, can there be ethical door knockers? Yes, right?
And I did that.
And hey, this isn't on you, brother.
No, I know.
Yeah, this is.
But
more,
I know what my competition was. They were terrible.
And you know that there's a lot of things like that going on every day. And so, one of the most important things we can do is get a few quotes. Yeah. Try to find a couple local companies that are doing
great
it.
advice.
Make sure that you're getting a fair deal, because we look at it at like a price per watt basis is how they break it down. So let's say we have a 10,000 watt solar system, maybe that's 25 or so panels. And, let's say that would be before your tax credit. There's a federal tax credit, so 30% off, but can't give tax advice, so look into it. It's non-refundable. Not everybody gets it. Let's say $3 a watt, but somebody else might come in and try to sell the same system with less quality construction workers and less quality materials for $5 a watt. So now that $30,000 system's $50,000. So we need to protect our nest egg at the end of the day. So, but back to your financing question. Financing can be great. We've been on a roller coaster. 2023, that was something that impacted a lot of the large national solar companies. And what you have within financing is, you know what, let's go lay it all out. You have these things called dealer fees in this world. It was something that I believe is within the Truth in Lending Act.
Yep.
So I got a question mark there, but we'll carry on. And what these dealer fees are is it is where a bank can offer a contractor a loan program. So let's say a 20 or a 25-year loan, and APR at like 3% or 4% or something. So then the salesperson says, oh, Evie. All right, I'm working on it. All right, Evie. First day, second time. Nice to see you. So it's Evie. Great news. You just got qualified for this 3% total APR, 20-year loan. This is going to be your low monthly payment, and there is no prepayment penalty. What they're leaving out are these things called dealer fees, and that's essentially the bank lowering the interest rate, but the contractor's paying that to the bank, right? And so it marks up the price significantly. Where you really need to be careful with this, though, is that let's say that you then say, well, Grayson, I'd like to pay cash. Is there a discount for cash? And then they'll give you the used car run around, and they'll say, well, let me talk to my manager. Let's see if we can work something out. And then they'll come back to you. So today's like Thursday right now. And so they'd say, okay, I got good news. My manager says I can give you a 10% discount, but I need your commitment by tomorrow. So you guys take the night to think about it, and let's go. So there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of moving around, and I can tell you it's a little bit more than 10% that they're paying on those fees. So things to be careful of. And those can be good loans. Frankly, they can be good loans if the homeowner is made aware of what they're getting into. Example, don't pay it off early. You just paid all these fees at a low rate. Roll with it. So, we won't say any names, and we'll leave that there. That said, we have chosen to partner with a different lender, and they do not have any of those fees built in. So the interest rate does look a little bit higher, but due to the principal separation, the payments end up about the same. But the good news, furthermore, is that then they allow 3 reamortizations where you can do principal-only pay downs to bring down that monthly payment, and there's no early payment penalty. So they're completely designed for early payment, right? So it just depends. Financing can be great. It's just like anything, though. We got to do our homework and make sure that we're protecting our family and our best interests, and that we have all the information. And there are some great contractors here in Virginia, too. So, it's just like anything else. It's finding the right apple when you're going through the bin.
Yeah. I follow a lot of the companies around the country still because, even though I left the industry to come here, I still follow them. And I think the advice you just gave, anybody who's lucky enough to be listening and then they meet you if they want solar, even if they don't want solar, they should still talk to you guys because they don't understand completely by this little interview. But the advice to get 2 or 3 quotes is brilliant. And that says a lot. And I will add to you, correct you, or just force feed this, they got to be BBB accredited.
Yes, of course.
Correct?
Yeah.
Right. So they start with trust. Obviously, BBB.org. And the more we talk with your company and your staff, and you guys start leading with that brand, it's who you are. You don't need the BBB to say how you wake up every day, but you wake up to be what we've been trying to do for 112 years. And that's start with integrity, respect, and honesty. And the truth in lending on these loans, I've never understood it. 40 years in the car business, I've gone through the disclosure boxes, the federal government involved in everything. It's like the Wild West on some of these loans, and they're not all like you, and you know that. These companies they're almost shell games, and they're just trying to keep ahead of the bill collector and before people uprise and realize they're not getting what they were told they were getting.
Well, it's apparently not supposed to be talked about, but I think that we have, as being American at the end of the day, that we have a responsibility to our community and the people around us to know the truth of what's going on.
Yep.
And when we're, I don't know anything about the car business, but I hear that this is where this whole model came from. And so how taken advantage are we as
about
the normal
40,
people?
50 years ago? I was in it. I mean, that's exactly where it comes from.
The game.
Not anymore. It's because we're so regulated. Yeah. But and if we could get every house, I mean, there's not enough installers to start today and in 5 years from now install solar on every single roof in America. So there's plenty of business out there.
There's plenty of business. There's plenty of ethical opportunities. Right. And those loans are not necessarily bad. Like, they can be good.
They're great.
But
if that's what you need.
But it needs to be transparent.
Understood. And the last thing, and we're getting up at 18 minutes, so we don't ever want to go past 15 to 20 minutes on a podcast. Just so you know, nobody listens after a certain time.
Except for this one.
Yeah, except for this, because they got Grayson and Evie on it. So the one thing about the tax credits, and I love the way you cannot give tax advice, and I can't either, but I'm not in your industry, so I will say this. The funny part is they all lead with the tax credit. But if I don't pay taxes, I don't need a tax credit. And that's where people are getting hurt also, making $20,000, $30,000 a year, sizing up the monthly payment, getting approved like a buy here, pay here loan. And then they own 25 years. And if the right amount of panels, okay, they won't get electric bill, but it's never the right amount because that markup fee was all the profit for the door-to-door knocker. That was not ethical. So what's the last thing? How do people get in touch with you? And then Evie will wrap it up.
Yeah. Let's see here. I think the best thing to do is, you can just Google us. You'll see our reviews right there. You can jump on our website, request a quote. You can give us a call directly. And we just dive in. How we look at it all is baby steps. We're going to nerd out on the details. We're going to talk about this is how we waterproof the roof, right? Hey, let's go through the construction process. This is how we think about the little details. You'll notice some solar systems, they have silver rails under the black panels, and they just shine through and look so ugly. Hey, let's talk about the black rails. Let's talk about this rail being stronger than that rail. Let's get into the little nuances of what we're purchasing so that we know that we're, what is the true value for my dollar here. So, southernexposuresolar.com, 804-965-4040. Again, 804-965-4040. And, just if it's a fit, it's a fit. And if it's not, we'll find out why, and we'll
Yep.
part as friends. It's all good.
Grace, I'm so happy you came in. And I do have to say that some of these companies out there might be selling 3 or 4 year old panels that they bought up cheap, and are not selling the newest models and or the best technology. So
Actually, if I could slip one thing in
Go
there,
ahead.
My family, it's my work family, right? My company was founded by me and a guy named Fred Walker, and we were fortunate enough to gain an opportunity with one of the largest manufacturers in the country. They're called CertainTeed. They've been in business for 120 years. They're famous for their roofing shingles. They make a number of other products. They could be part of your homes right now. They've been making solar panels for the past decade. Something very cool that they did is they created a program very exclusive for local small contracting outfits such as ours, where they're taking all of the solar equipment, not just the solar panel that they're manufacturing, but your 3 major components, the workmanship that my team does, the waterproofing that my team does, any service that may pop up with those components. They've essentially put it into an umbrella warranty, where if the client of mine ever has an issue, they give us a call. But you got to think, what happens if the contractor goes out of business? Always with a big purchase like this, I'm the only one with a great answer, because CertainTeed is standing behind that full umbrella warranty for 25 years. So if I was ever gone, then my client calls CertainTeed in Malvern, Pennsylvania. CertainTeed's going to make sure everything's right.
Wow.
that is huge.
That's awesome.
So
Because that's
we're
the biggest
very
thing.
proud. We're very happy. We're excited for the future. It's all baby steps, but
Yeah.
yeah.
You're here for the rest of your life. You're young and you're an Alabama guy, so that's got to be a good thing too.
I mean, it was a good 4 years, but I prefer Richmond.
We're glad you're here. Go ahead, Evie, wrap it up.
Thank you, Grayson, for joining us today on BBB Sharing. Thank you again, Barry, for your wonderful insight. Make sure to follow us on Ignite Sparked by BBB Central Virginia on Instagram and Facebook, and follow us on LinkedIn, BBB Serving Central Virginia. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.